Okay, so I've gone over the method on the Zoom already this morning, but I'm just going to leave a record on YouTube of the methods we're going over this week for maths. So this is the first method, reminding you that last year you did have a look at column addition. You would have been looking at 3-digit numbers, so just hundred, tens and ones. If you're secure in that method, it shouldn't be too much of a leap to understand what we're doing this week at all. So I'll just quickly run through a couple of examples for you. So you can see that this, I hope, looks a bit familiar to you. This is what we're aiming for in the end, that you're using this method for all your written methods for addition. Alongside, I'm going to show you how it looks with the place value counter so you can understand what we're doing and the vocabulary that we're going to use. So let's crack on then. So I've got my grid set out, I've got my number here. All I need to make sure I do is represent the numbers in my place value grid. So you can see the top number is 1,643, and I'm going to add to that 2,124. Okay, and we need to make sure that we're adding from the least significant digit all the way to the most significant digit. So we start on this side of the calculation. We know that we've got to add the total of the ones column. So we bring the ones down here. You can see that if you add up all the ones together, we end up with 7 in the ones column, which means we write this up here as 7 in the ones column. For the tens, we need to find out the total of our tens. So you can bring them down into the answer part and you can count them all up. You can see we have 4 tens and 2 tens, so we end up with 6 tens in the tens column. In the hundreds column then we do exactly the same. We need to add up what we've got in the hundreds column, so we can group them together in the answer box to add them up. We can say that we had 600, we added 100 to it, so we end up with 700. And then in the thousands, we had 1,000, adding on 2 thousands, that means we end up with 3,000. So the answer is 3,767. Nice and easy. The next step we'll do is we're going to start encountering something a little bit different in the place value grid. Again, you will remember this from last year if you remember it from year 3, and if you don't, this is a really good reminder for you, okay? So the calculation we're doing is written like this, but we've also got the place value grid ready so you can see what we're doing. So we're going to have 2,300, 4 tens, 40, and 9 ones. Well done. And we're adding on 1,200, 4 tens and 2. It's so important we do all that place value work at the beginning of the year so you know how to make these numbers and understand what each digit represents. So I think some of you will already see what's going to happen with this one. So we start at the side here, the ones, we start at the least significant digit. We need to find the total of all the ones. So if we bring it all down here, we can see we've ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 ones in this column. So it's not possible, it's not right. It's not happy with just writing 11 ones here. We need to do something else, don't we? Hopefully you'll remember, because we did have a little look at this earlier on this year, we do something which we call regrouping. We don't call it 11 ones anymore. We can swap out 10 ones for 1 10 here, look. So we end up with 10 and 1. Our 11 is now, this we'll call regrouping. And the way it looks in the calculation, we end up with 1, 1 and 1 10. So just make sure we keep it underneath the tens column. So we can always give them a title to help us keep them in line. So now we come to the tens column and we need to bring them all down to find our total. We have 4 tens, we're adding 4 tens on, which will give us 8 tens, but we mustn't forget this regroup 10 at the bottom here. So we actually end up with 9 tens in this column here. We move across to the hundreds. You can see we've got 300 and 200, 300 and 200. When we find the total of them, we end up with 5. And our thousands, 2,000 and 1,000, we end up with 3. Okay, so this is a really good visual way of looking at it, but of course you should be beginning to see, oh yes, I can carry out that calculation. Look, if I do it again for you, underneath, you can see that you should be able to go, yes, brilliant, 9 and 2, that is my 11, that's my 10 and 1, 4 tens and 4 tens is 8 tens plus 1 will give me 9, 300 and 200 is 500, and 2,000 and 1,000 is 3,000, 3,591. So I'm not suggesting you always need to use this place value grid. Hopefully you're moving towards the written method. So moving on through the week then, we'll come across questions like this. Okay, so this one is 4,743. This time we're adding on 1,412. Okay, so let's have a look at this calculation. I'm already wondering which column we're going to have to do some work with here. So let's put it in the place value grid. 4,000. $700. 40 and 3, and we are going to add 1,412. We need to find the total of these two numbers. So you can already start to look maybe, and you might be realizing where there's going to be some regrouping needed. We regrouped the ones last time to tens and ones. I wonder which column you think will require some regrouping this time. Okay, so let's carry on. So if we add the ones together, you've got your 3 tens and your 2 tens. That will give you 5. You bring down your tens. You've got 4 tens and 1 10. That will leave you with 5 tens altogether. Here we go. Let's take the hundreds down, sorry. Bring all the hundreds down. We end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 hundreds. So we can't possibly keep that in our place value grid. We can't write 11 there. What we can do is regroup. So if you remember all that work we did earlier on in this year, we regroup 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we can add 1,000 to the bottom. Okay, so we end up with 100 and 1,000. 700 and 400 is 1,100. And then when we add the thousands together, we bring them down. We've got 4,000. We're adding on our 1,000, but don't forget this 1,000 we generated when we regroup the hundreds. So you end up with 6,155. And then by the end of the week, you should be quite confident looking at any calculations where regrouping might need to be done in a variety of columns. So already have a little look which columns you think might require regrouping, and then we can show you how this looks in the place value grid. You can print off the counters from the web page. If you want to make the counters to do it at home, you can draw the counters, or you can actually end up managing to do it totally using that written method. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we need 8 ones. Looks quite fiddly, just helping you picture what it is that we're doing when we do this. And we're going to add 4,000 on, 200 and 14. Well done. Okay, so already, gosh, quite a big place value, quite jam-packed place value grid this time. So if we take our ones down, we're our 8 ones and our 4 ones, we're going to end up with 8 add 4, we're going to end up with 12. So we're going to end up with 12 here. So remember, we're going to take 10 of them out, and we're going to regroup it so it is a 10 and 2 ones. Up here we go our 2 ones and our 10 in our tens column. Don't forget, if you're finding it difficult to line it up, try really hard. Or get some squared paper on the web page. That might help you keep the columns all lined up properly. Moving along to the tens, you've got 7 tens and 1 10. So you bring an 8 down, but don't forget you've got to add the 10 that you generated through regrouping. So 7 tens and 1 tens, that's 8 tens, that's 80, and another 10 is 90. And moving to the hundreds again, look, so we've got 800s and we've got 200s. Bring them all the way down, you realise you've made 10 hundreds. So at the minute, this what happens now, you can swap all those 10 hundreds because 10 hundreds is the same as 1,000. You end up with 0 in that hundreds column, but don't forget that you've created a new 1,000 you've got to record in the thousandth column. And then you add up the total of the thousands, 3,004. 1,000 is 7,000. Don't forget your other 1,000, 8,092. So hopefully, I think mums and dads will remember this method as well. This is a method that will be quite familiar to them. So don't forget, have a go at these questions, set each day, and you've got the week on addition method.